I'm Aaron Cohen. You're watching the Aaron Cohen Show. We've got breaking news right now. This breaking information brought to you by the Cherry's Deep Concealment Holster. Same holster I trained Keanu Reeves on for the John Wick franchise. Runs below the waistband. Zero digging into your gut. Lightning fast draw with just a little bit of training. Go to cherryscounterterror.com and finally get yourself a comfortable IWB appendix holster. This thing is an absolute beast. Here we go. Moving on. Breaking news tonight out of Amsterdam, where witnesses have described what can only be called a coordinated mob of violence. Israeli soccer fans became the targets of brutal attacks involving stabbings, car rammings, and beatings, leaving many injured, terrified for their lives. Tons of footage circulating all over X. These acts, deliberate, calculated, and fueled by a dangerous ideology. Here's what we know about the Amsterdam pogrom. Around 3,000 Israeli fans of Maccabi Tel Aviv flew to Amsterdam to watch a game against AFC Ajax. An ambush was waiting for them at various points outside the stadium and around the city as they returned by train from the game. Footage circulating on social media shows fans being beaten and chased with knives. Dutch authorities report that 10 Israelis have been injured and that they have lost contact with 2 individuals. About 57 suspects have been reportedly arrested. Israel, from what we're hearing, has dispatched 2 rescue planes to assist in the evacuation of Israeli nationals to bring them back home to Israel. The situation, however, is still developing. It's ongoing. And with hundreds of Israelis being instructed to lock themselves in hotel rooms and to not go outside. Let's talk about it. This is the direct result of Globalize the Intifada, a pro-Hamas garbage movement which has been allowed to fester and metastasize on campuses and in communities across the United States and the West. The permissiveness towards this movement has emboldened those who wish to import hatred, which is the precursor to terrorism and violence, onto these streets in Europe, making it not just an Israeli issue, but a global security threat that can no longer be ignored. I want to say that again. No longer be ignored. And let me be clear. Dutch law enforcement and counterterrorism authorities failed to secure this event. I work in law enforcement for 16 years. I serve as a reservist and a tactical instructor. And with the intelligence capabilities available in the Netherlands, the escalation that we saw should never have reached this level. This failure points to a larger issue here. The West's complacency in facing down radical Islamic movements that are clearly intent on spreading violence beyond the Middle East. Question: where was President Geert Wilders in all of this? A lot of tough talk with this guy, but zero security for the Jews attending this event. The gap between rhetoric and action couldn't be clearer. And his administration's inaction in protecting Jewish attendees at this event speaks volumes and highlights the inadequacies of the current leadership safeguarding the citizens against these types of threats. Geert, איפה אתה? לא רואים אותך. Where were you? I don't see you. And adding to the gravity of the situation is a report from the Jerusalem Post back in October that Dutch police have refused to guard Jewish sites due to their moral dilemmas. And this alarming stance, it's a much deeper issue within law enforcement agencies throughout that country. That unwillingness or inability to confront Jewish threats against Jewish communities head on. The Dutch police's hesitation to protect these sites creates a security vacuum that radical groups, just like we're seeing tonight, are all too eager to exploit. And this decision has left Jewish institutions exposed, contributing to the climate of fear and violence that we witnessed in Amsterdam and we're still seeing right now. Now let's break down why this event in Amsterdam represents a larger failure in security and what this means moving forward. This is the Aaron Cohen Show. That's what we talk about here. First off, Dutch authorities showed a clear lack of proactive intelligence gathering and threat assessment. Zero. Kloom. with 3,000 Israeli fans attending. There should have been comprehensive pre-event intelligence to anticipate and neutralize potential risks. No different than the Ariana Grande concert. The globalized the Intifada movement has been openly promoting violent rhetoric. Authorities should have known that this event was a prime target. Numero dos. Number two, the deployment of law enforcement was woefully inadequate here, or they were just in the wrong place. Reports show that the police were not stationed at critical points, leaving attendees vulnerable. High-risk events like these demand a visible presence as part of the security layering. Multiple layers, meaning it would take a multi-failure event for a mob like this to be able to be successful. That's the way we do security in Israel. And this delayed reaction during the violence is another critical failure, with 10 Israelis, 10 Jews injured, and others forced to lock themselves in hotel rooms. It's clear that the response was either too slow to protect them, and the need for Israel to dispatch rescue planes just shows what a colossal failure this was. Geert, where were you, Geert Wilders? And according to the shocking revelation, the Dutch police have refused to guard Jewish sites, citing moral dilemmas. And what does that tell you? That type of mindset within law enforcement signals a much deeper issue. An unwillingness to fully commit to the protection of Jewish communities? What is this, 1930s Hitler? When politics or personal biases infiltrate law enforcement, public safety is a monster and the major casualty. What if that happens here? And where was Geert? His administration's tough rhetoric on security rings, hollow, when faced with the reality of zero meaningful action, nothing. Words without actions, meaningless. And the absence of security measures, unacceptable. זה לא מקובל עלינו. Unacceptable. This incident shows that the West must wake up immediately to the radical Islamic threat. This movement, not just an ideology, but is turning into violence. And failing to do so means more bloodshed, more fear, more emboldened extremists. And as we see these lapses, these will escalate. I've been talking about this for a year, going back to UCLA. And the message here is clear. Either put the correct security, or these incidents aren't just probable, they're inevitable. It's time to step up. It's time for the West to call this thing what it is. Radical Islamic violence. I'm Aaron Cohen. This episode sponsored by the Cherries Deep Concealment Holster. Same holster I trained Keanu on for the John Wick franchise. This thing's not going to fall off you. Rides below the waistband. Super comfortable, lightning fast draw. Also, please support the show. Hit the link in the description. Grab yourself a sponsorship package so we can keep this breaking information and analysis coming out to you guys. For the holster, go to cherriescounterterror.com or hit the link in my description and grab yourself a sponsorship package. I'm Aaron Cohen. I'll be back with more on this story. Stand by.